Redneck Muck, peace. So today I'm in pursuit of the dark sciences of the automotive world, the fuel gauge. So Cleo, the 61 Lark fuel gauge does not work. So first I'm going to see if this sending unit's any good, and I'll do that by ohming it out. So I'll set my meter to ohms, and then I'm going to hook to each end of my lead here, one going through the potentiometer, because that's all we got here. So this is your power in, or well, this ain't really power in, but sort of. So this is going to ground. So this will be a power, and then this is controlling your, I hate to say this is a power. This is your negative side of your gauge. So if you have no ground, which this is empty, then it's going to read empty. And I would assume that your ohms should reflect that. So, little ohm meter. Let's just go to 60,000 ohms. I don't know if I can set that where you guys can see it. But so it should read that, empty or fairly close. And maybe that when it's full. So here is one side of it. Here is the other side of it. I'm going to just go here. I don't have enough hands. I had this laying on the floor. It's going to throw it away, and I'm like, let me check that with the fuel gauge real quick, just to see. It do not work. So that's okay. That's just one of the things I was going to do today. So I'll get rid of the ohm meter. So the next thing, that fuel gauge is junk. It should have read some ohms if it was any good at all, and it did not. So now I'm going to go, if you look, okay, so temperature, fuel, they both work pretty well the same. You've got, I don't know if you can see it, but it's marked ignition. So this is going to be, after you start the car, this is engine voltage here. So your alternator voltage will be on these two wires. These two wires will maintain 12 plus volts the whole time unless you have a 6-volt system. So then this side is what goes to your fuel sender. So this side goes to the fuel sender. The fuel sender should ohm one way or another to get your fuel level to work. Now this gauge I'm not sure is any good, so which is why I'm set up like this, was because I wanted to see if this gauge is any good. And you can simply by going power and negative. So this is my negative. Well, sometimes you got to be careful with this because it might take off fast, it might take off slow. So let's start with the temperature first. Hooked up right? Oh, there it goes. It's taking off. I'm not going to let it go all the way up. I just wanted to make sure it worked, because if you let it go all the way up, I'm going to give it full 12 volts, and it could stick in that spot since it's an old unit. So you can see it going back down. Now I'll do the same to the fuel gauge to see if the fuel gauge is any good. That's my battery negative. This is my battery positive. Kind of interesting how it takes it a second. I don't think it's the connection. I think it's just, it takes it some time. You've seen how it went down. Come on, little fuel gauge. You can do it. Pretty confident that fuel gauge is no good. It should have functioned as the temperature did. So this is actually the old one out of Cleo. When I got Cleo, she had a new old stock one of these in it. I put the new old stock in it. The temperature gauge was the only thing that worked in Cleo. Now the temperature gauge doesn't work in the new old stock one. The fuel gauge, to me, is a little more important. But I can run a manual temperature gauge really easy. It's harder to run an aftermarket fuel gauge, but it's not horrible. It's not out of the realms of things, but yeah. So I need to see if I can fix both of these, and I think the best way to do it is to pull it out, get it out here on the bench, and make sure both sides work. If both sides work, then it's in the car. It's why all of a sudden this quit working and this doesn't work. I know I have a sender in my car, but it has no wires going to it. So I'm going to try not to pull it out. I'm going to try to run wiring to it, to my gauge, if the gauge works, and see if it works. If it works, I'm going to leave it. If it doesn't work, then I'll have to get a new sender, if I can get a new sender. That's what happens when you deal with weird stuff. I hate to call Studebakers weird, but you know, they're not one of the big three, so that makes them different. But anyway, let me get this gauge out of Cleo real quick, and let's see what it does. All right. You can't really see the red line because it's way up here past full. I did exactly what I didn't want to do. So when I was pulling it out, I found that it had a ground wire going to the mount, and I'm like, it shouldn't need the ground wire to run the fuel gauges. That should just be for the lights. But I thought, hey, I'm going to try this. So I had it plugged in, my negative and positive both hooked to the gauge, and was trying to get another wire to ground out the case. And I looked over and it was full. So it took off at some point or another. I'm hoping that here in a second it decides it's going to back down, but I don't know. So we'll see. I may have just scrapped this dude out completely because, you know, I didn't have a fuel gauge hooked to it to monitor it. But yeah, I think. Oh, there it went. It was stuck. There we go. Let's see if we can make it move without going nuts here. I'm just going to let it sit there for a second. Let it think about what it's done. Oh, there it starts moving. Boom, it jumped. See that? It's not a real smooth fuel gauge. Up there it went to full. Oof. I think it'll be smoother once it gets on a sender. Hopefully. I didn't scrap it out again. It takes a real dummy to do it twice. But you know, I'm that guy. Tappity tap. Little tap, tap, taparoo. Come on, needle. Are you too good for your home? Go home, needle. Ah, there it goes. Okay. So this guy's a little glitchy. I don't know if that'll straighten out, but I think in the car, vibration of the car and all that, it will get better and it'll work. So I know this gauge is good down here. Let me check the upper one. Okay. I don't know how fast this dude reacts. I might have tapped it so hard that it's jacked up for good. All my junk battery is just that dead now. I'm still showing 12 volts. It should go. Shouldn't take much amperage at all. Oh yeah, this one's just sticking too. Sticky, sticky. Okay. So I have 2 sticky gauges. I don't know if I can do anything about them. I'm going to pull this old one apart and we'll see. That's what I was talking about. It doesn't flip now, but it doesn't want to show me really where the fuel levels should be at, which should be, you know, it should be pretty full. It wants to go wherever. I'm going to take this dude apart some more. All right, this is why I call it the dark sciences. So if you look at this guy, you see a wire here, you see 2 wires here. So this is the hot side. This is the negative side. So I was looking at it and I was going, okay, so it's making 2 different magnetic poles. That's what moves this guy. So this guy is getting its negative here. Where's this guy getting his negative? He's supposed to be getting his negative from the case. So I ran another ground wire. And look at that. Smooth as silk. Oh, maybe not so smooth as silk, but you know, smooth enough. So anyway, yeah. That's crazy, isn't it? Whoop, whoop. Still moving. So as that voltage varies, if I had something to, so this one would have full voltage all the time, right? He would be here, and then this guy would get voltage on occasion, or get limited voltage, and that's what would control it. This one's all jacked up, but I bet now that I figured this out, I can make the other one work. So let's grab it. Freaking magic. Okay, so ignition ought to be up here. Case ought to ground anywhere like here. Okay, can you see it? Let's just put it on there and see if we can get it to do anything. Whoop, whoop, look at that. That dude works, man. So I've removed my bottom lead. It's got less voltage going through, actually none, so it's heading back to empty. Hook this dude up. I wish I had the gas gauge to show you this dude as a potentiometer, but yeah, this dude works. This dude works good. So this dude's going in, and I will get a wire in. So I found my wire under the car here. It's supposed to go to the sender. The sender I can get to through the trunk, right there. So I've got to attempt to run something that I can get the hold of that wire, but I'm going to have to add onto that wire because it's been cut or broke off or something. So let me add some wire to it and get a piece of wire, and yeah, I'll see if I can get up here. And it's got a weird connector on it. I'm going to try a couple things to see if I can come up with something to connect to it. It's not a screw. And curious if I need to run a ground wire from a bolt on the sender to here, or if just the tank is grounded. So we'll see. We'll get there. Okay, so I was able to connect to the wire and feed, and then that's not the exact connector that's supposed to be there, but it's pretty solid. Could come off, but I'm gonna look it up and see if they make the connector that's supposed to be there. Right now, that'll work for you know, especially checking to see if this is gonna work. I put a hose down the tank. It feels like it's pretty low. I would think less than a quarter, but not empty. So I don't know. Let's turn the key on and see what she does. What do you think? That seems like the thing to do at the moment to me. Let's see here. Let's zoom in there. I seen it jiggle. Did you see it jiggle? I seen it jiggle. Oh, I seen it jump. Look at that. Look at it. Ha 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 ha. We have a working fuel sender. We have a working fuel gauge. And that is the Dark Sciences fuel gauge repaired. That's freaking awesome. So what did we learn? We learned that the fuel gauge uses magnets, which is science, dark science. That's just basically magic. Magnets are magic. So yeah, that's cool. This is a big step. This is a big step to making this car drive around, I don't want to say safely, but confidently, because you know exactly how much fuel you have per se, so you can at least keep an eye on it. You know, we'll fill it up probably today, and you know, it'll be great. So yeah, all right, 61 Studebaker Lark fuel gauge repaired. Check. Oh yeah, Redneck Muck. Peace.